Hello, and welcome to When Change Happens, How to Embrace Your Next. Hi, I'm Nicolette Lemmon, and today what I would like to talk to you about is adapting to change, and really, how well do you do it? Because I have some really great tips today to help you through that next big thing that happens to you. Well, let's talk about some of those big things that can happen. Have any of you gotten married, gotten divorced, had a child, more than one child, gone through the change of life, have ailing parents, had a kid go off to college, the empty nest syndrome, maybe change jobs, and it sounds like that's kind of simple with all those other ones I just mentioned, but it still changes things, doesn't it? Have you lost a job? Have you had the death of a loved one or a close friend? How about move to a new city? How about a brush with cancer, either you or a friend or a family member? What about emergency surgery or having something happen that puts you into the emergency room with you or with a family member, child? What about a car accident? These are just a few items of change, right? Now, they are very big things, but how many things could you nod at as I read those off? And when I was doing this with a group of professional women recently, I can't believe how many hands went up over and over and over again. All of these things happening changes a life. And you say, well, getting married is a fun thing, right? Yeah, but it still changes everything. Having a kid is wonderful, isn't it? Yes, but it changes everything. All your habits, all your routines, how you went from one day as not a mom or dad and then next day you were a mom or dad, it changes immediately and in a very big way. Because we love having routine, right? Because habits and routine keep us really glued together well. We know what we need to do, we know when we can do it, we know how we can get things done. It's really great to have routines. But when something happens, when change happens, the only thing that we have that can really help us to cope is our own creativity. Now, I know that we just have a short time together, but what I would like for you to do, if you do wear a watch, if you still have a watch, great. I would like for you to take it off and put it on to the other arm. If you have a piece of jewelry, like a bracelet that you use or that you always wear on one arm, please change it to the other arm. If there's a ring that you wear, and I realize wedding rings and things like that stay on one, but if you have other rings that you wear or something else that, it could be some people wear bracelets all the time, as I said. Some people wear the rubber bands to remind themselves, male and female, of something that they're working on. The reason of moving it, though, shows you immediately how odd it feels the minute we change something that we normally do. When I have my watch on my left arm where I normally wear it, I don't even notice it. I don't feel the weight. I don't even feel it moving on my skin. It's just a part of me because it's been there for so long and I've worn it there for years and years. When I take it off and put it onto my right arm, first of all, it's hard for me to get it clasped back onto my arm. But at the same time, I look at it and I go, wow, I feel the weight. This is heavy. This is awkward. I don't like this. Ooh. Hopefully you have that opportunity to do that simple little routine, because to me that shows you in a very simple way what kinds of things happen when change happens to our brains, to what we think about. So what I would like to talk a little bit about is how to rewrite the story of your life, your next. And when I say that, it's because, change happens, and as we get older, things change even more in our lives, and we need to be ready to embrace them and be excited about them, rather than to have lots of doubt and fear and trepidation and disbelief and scary stories in our heads. You need to banish all of that. And how can you do that And one of the major ways for me is to realize embracing change. And how can I do that effectively and cope with it effectively? Well, I have a great way for you to think about it. Because if you want more hope to achieve more dreams, if you want more joy to celebrate more things in your life, if you want more adventure to experience more in your life, you want more abundance to enjoy life and not to worry about money and things that you have to do to get yourself taken care of, just abundance flowing. If you want all of those, then you need to learn how to live creatively. You say, what? I'll say, well, right now, do you feel creative? Do you feel that you're one of the most creative people in your group of friends or at work? Are you creative? When I ask this room full of professional women that I was mentioning before, how many of you feel really creative right now, that you can turn it on, that you are really creative? Only about 2 or 3 hands went up out of 50 people. And I said, look around. Most all of you do not feel that you're creative because you associate creativity with the arts, with being a writer, being an artist, being a painter, creating things with your hands. It's not that kind of creativity alone. The idea for me came that with all kinds of changes in my life across so many in that list that I mentioned, the one thing I can always count on is my creativity to help me cope with change. And so I came up with a book, The Year of Living Creatively, to help me. Now, this wasn't meant to be a book. This was just to help me day to day to continue to tap my creativity to help me move forward and to really regain that spirit that I'm talking about here of hope and joy and adventure and abundance. Became a mantra for me. So I turned it into a year-long effort. And now I've turned it into a guidebook. It's simple. There's lots of exercises, but simply to get you to be more creative in your life, to help you get those juices flowing, to make sure that you actually are using your creativity like a muscle. You have to work at it. You have to work it out so you believe in it and it's right there ready to go when you really need it. Well, here's some ways to help you embrace whatever it is that is your next, and utilizing this creativity, these pieces and parts of your brain that can help you to meet any new change. But to do that, you need to understand a few things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the change curve of what we go through when a change happens and why creativity is so powerful to help us with it, the power of your own thoughts, and moving forward, how do you do that easily? And finally, embracing your next, really being excited about it. So let's jump right in, the change curve. Now, when I'm talking about the change curve, I found this out years ago, and I actually brought it into my business, which was a marketing firm, to help my employees when I really wanted to grow the business. I wanted to really ratchet it up. And to do that, it was going to mean change. It was going to mean really pushing forward. And I had some wonderful people come in and talk about change with everyone. Understanding this process is really important because it trips us up all the time. And this is really about finding your hope, because if you don't make it through the change curve, you can find yourself disillusioned, disappointed, stuck. And there's where you lose hope. So let's show you how you can find hope. Here's a framework that was set up by Kubler-Ross, and I've seen a bunch of the different ones. This one I liked because it shows you the different stepping stones. First, when change happens, you go into denial because you don't want to change. You don't want to move. You don't want to change. And this can also be called the grief curve because it is also what we go through when we grieve the passing of a loved one. But it's also saying goodbye to whatever it is. Whatever the change has created for you, you're saying goodbye to something. So the first part is to deny. I'm not going to change. I am not going to do anything different. I'm just fine. And then you get mad because you don't want to change, and so you get mad about it. And then you kind of go into the bargaining phase. Well, I guess I could change, but I really don't want to change, but maybe I should change. Well, then you get into I guess I have to change. That's the depression. I have to accept it. I have to get on board here. I'm not really thrilled about it, but okay, I'm now going to accept it, and off I go. The trouble is so many people can kind of rock back through like they can pretend to accept it right away. Okay, I know I have to change. I have this new job. I'm going to do everything great and all that. And little by little, they slip back into these others because we have to go through all of these, even quickly. But we have to go through all of this in the change curve to really get us past that old habit, that old routine, to be able to change those things. We have to say goodbye and accept the new and be excited about the new and be hopeful about the new. The problem is that there are some people that they can swing back and forth, or they can get stuck in bargaining, or they can get mad again, or they can get depressed, and they never really want to move out, or they find it hard to move out. So here's an idea for you. This is out of my book, The Year of Living Creatively, and it's very simple. But when you want to navigate change, you really got to break out that creativity, right? Because I have to imagine a new way of doing things. I have to imagine changing and moving on, and that other things are going to be great, and get all that hope going. Only my creativity can help me do that. My imagination can help me do that. So when you're stuck, here's a great thing to do. Write 10 new ideas. Write down 10 new ideas. And you go, what? 10 ideas? Yes. Write down 10 ideas. And you go, well, I don't think I have 10 ideas. Doesn't matter. But whatever it is about that new change, what are 10 new ideas of how you can cope with it, what you can do with it, what you can do once you've accepted it, once you've gone on and are really, rocking it with the new change. Maybe it's the new job, and so what are the 10 new ideas that are going to come from that new work experience that you have, new people you're going to meet, new experiences you're going to have. Maybe it's that you're getting a divorce. And you go, oh, this is horrible, I don't want to do it. Oh. Write down 10 new ideas that you can do when the divorce is final. What are 10 fun things you can do? Then there may be the kids going off to college. So what are the 10 new things that you can do instead of worrying about the empty nest and being upset that you got an empty nest? What are 10 new things that you can do when that kid is off and all, nice and cozy in their dorm room? What can you do now? 10 new things. But what if you think it's something as simple as you have an illness that is going to take you a little while to recover from? Well, what are 10 new things you want to do when you're recovered? What are 10 things you can do while you're resting? Can you see the power of just writing 10 new ideas down? Now, I actually did this for 3 months straight. Every single day, I wrote 10 new ideas about anything. And you go, well, I don't even think I have 10 ideas. I don't have the time to do it. You really do have time to do it because, it takes you less than 5 minutes to just jot them down. You have a little reminder on your calendar, your Outlook calendar if you use it, or whatever you use at work, or if you're at home, you have a paper calendar. I don't care. It's on your phone. I don't care where it is. Write down 10 ideas, 10 fun things you've learned, 10 things you want to do when you're 80, 10 things you want to tell your grandkids, 10 things you want to do before you're 30. I don't care. All those things, or even going back in time and 10 great things I did before I was 30. Go write 10 things down. It takes you 5 minutes. And you know what? It really gets you excited about other stuff. It distracts your mind from the disappointment of whatever the change was, or that you don't want to do it, or whatever place you are in the change curve. Boom, you got new hope because you wrote down 10 new things. You're making your brain expand, your creativity expand. You're using that muscle so that it will pop things in whenever you need them now more easily. than before. Like that? Pretty simple, isn't it? Well, let's go on then. Let's talk about the power of your thoughts. What you think you can, you can. What you think you can't, well, you're right. Because it is all about the power of what you're thinking. So what are you thinking about? This is about finding your joy. Because if you are thinking dark thoughts, then that's what you'll attract. So if you're thinking happier thoughts or brighter thoughts or fun thoughts, now you open the door to joy. So when I think about that, here's a simple exercise you can do. And I know you may not have it, but if you have your keys on a ring, tie just a piece of string to them. Hold that string, put your elbow on the table, hold that string above the table so that the keys are not resting on the desk, but are just above the desk. And what I would like for you to do, now this is a simple thing. You go, well, I don't have that. Well, you can even use, pick up something that has a weight on it. So maybe it's a cord that you have that has a plug on the bottom. Do that and pinch the cord, put the heavy part down to the bottom, pinch the cord at the top. Anything that you can have that is pinched between your fingers with your elbow on the table so that it's just hanging from your fingertips. You can even use earphones. You can use anything. I use a key because it has a little bit more weight. But all you have to simply do, when I say the power of your thoughts, you need to pause if you can to get set up. But the idea is first to go forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. Not moving your hand, just having it pinched in between your two fingers and watch to see what happens to the key or to the earbuds or the keys, your clump of keys that you have. You're not moving anything. You're stationary. And now say side to side. In your head, side to side. You can say out loud if you want, side to side. Do they start to move? Now you can say circle, circle, circle. Just those simple commands that you say out loud or in your mind. Watch to see what happens because they're all your thoughts. When I have done this with a group of people, and I've done it for years with all kinds of different groups, especially when I had my own marketing university for a week, and I would have the students do that because I wanted them to understand that what they think about what they're learning will have a really good impact or it could have a really lousy impact. If you think of something, a change that's happening or something that's going on, what can easily happen is that you can start thinking negative thoughts. Remember in the change curve, you could get stuck and you could be depressed and you're not happy about it. By doing that, the problem becomes then what? Well, you start to bring down your whole psyche. And that, what does that do to your joy? Well, there is no joy then, right? Because when you have thoughts that are so powerful, and that's what this key exercise is about, every time I've done it, everyone in the room can get the key to move, or the pendulum at the bottom to move with the power of their thoughts. And everybody's always kind of freaked out about it because we don't necessarily think about how powerful our brains really are, how sensitive they are, how, we really use them so much without realizing if we're using positivity or negativity with them. And the idea of just that simple idea, and I really love to show people the whole idea of, having the key move. You don't really need that to realize how important it is. But let me just say it one other way. Every action is created by a thought. Right? So what are you thinking about? When we are coping with change, what I want you to think about is that key exercise that when I think of the change that's happening to me, am I thinking of it positively and that there is joy to be found and I'm thankful about it, or am I thinking of it as negative and scary movies in my head and everything starts to be more dark? So if every action is created by a thought, what are you thinking about? And this is everything. This doesn't even have to be a big change. It could be a little change and you just don't want to do it. It could be something that you have a scary movie in your head already, and how can you change that with a better ending, with something else? Isn't that powerful? So my idea here as another piece of information when you are coping with change, you have your 10 new ideas and give you more hope, and now you have the power of your thought. How can I bring more joy to the situation? Right? Now, so you got 2 down. Let's try another one about moving forward. And the idea with moving forward to me is all about banishing the doubt. Remember, in the change curve, you can get stuck in any one of those places. And very often some people get stuck in depression, or some get stuck in anger. If it's, an illness or a death of a loved one, it could be anger of their passing. It could be depression that they're gone. If it's something as simple as moving cities and you have to change your habits and find all new, and you get upset and, pretty bewildered by it because you're all of a sudden now not sure of yourself. You're not sure of what's going on. How do you move forward? Well, we have to banish the doubt, right? So we want a sense of adventure. You say, oh, well, that sounds easier than said, but being in spirit or inspired, that's, an old Greek thing. So being in spirit is also inspired. That's where it came from. Abundance will flow effortlessly to you. So being in spirit or inspired, abundance will flow effortlessly to you. You go, wow, that's pretty cool. Well, that's a sense of the law of attraction. And if you've heard of that, to me, that's one of the most interesting self-development tools that has come in a long time, of people recognizing the power of their thoughts, which we just talked about, and how if we are really in a sense of, we're thinking of adventure and abundance and joy and hope, then that will be attracted to us. But if we are in a dark place and we're not excited about things and we don't like this change and we don't want to do it, then we'll get more of that, more signs and more stuff attracted to us that is negative and that is not good, and we're not happy. So really, you want to be, you want to be happy, you want to be in spirit, but once in a while, you get kind of PO'd. You're not really happy. You are upset. This is not working. I don't like this. So here's an idea to banish the doubt. I call it stomp, and it's just a really simple technique, and I'm sure I picked it up somewhere along the line, and I just love it, but I can't tell you exactly where. But one of the aspects of stomp is that you need to make the shift to being in a positive spirit, to being in spirit, right? To being inspired. To do that, what I want you to do is, when you have an issue, if you can think of something right now that's really bugging you, and maybe it's a person. Maybe it's a person that's just not doing what you want them to do. Could be in the workplace, could be a child, could be a husband or a wife. It could be some friend that you're getting, just exasperated with. The idea is that I want you to imagine whatever that is in the palm of your hand. I want you to shrink that person down, and let's just do it as a person. There is someone that you're really, really tired of, either what they're doing or that they're not really on your best buddy list. You really want them to do something else. You want them to listen to you, whatever it is, but they're just really not paying attention or whatever. And so what I say is, if that's the case, or it's a problem that you're really unhappy about, imagine it in your hand. It's small enough to fit in your hand, because first we need to reduce the size of it in your mind. It has to become smaller, because you may have gotten it to being too big, and it's really not worthy of being that big. So let's talk about it being small, sitting right there in the palm of your hand. What I want you to do is I want you to throw it on the ground and stomp on it with your foot. And you go, what? But the action alone of taking a problem or a person that's a problem, shrinking it down to the size of the palm of your hand, a little tiny person, a little tiny problem, throwing it down on the floor and stomping on it, I'm done. I'm moving on. It's the idea of banishing the doubt that comes with that, the problems associated with that problem or person. That usually gets a huge laugh when people start thinking of someone that they get, especially at work, that they're not very happy with. And they started, in this group of women, they started calling out each other about it, of how they were going to do that when they got back to the office and all. The idea really is to banish the doubt and the concern and anything around the problem. That change that you're going to have that you don't really want to do, the new boss you're going to have, whatever, you are not really stomping on them or stomping on anything to hurt anything. You are doing it as an idea to break and distract your mind, to allow your creativity to come forward and be able to imagine a new, fun way to approach whatever it is. That you're allowing new ideas and fresh approaches and all that creativity to bubble forth that right now is blocked because you're focused on that person or that problem. So we shrink them down and we stomp on them, done. Now we're free to go with our creativity and get that sense of adventure back. That this change may have some really cool things to do for you. That you don't see it right now, but there may be some real freeing things to having this change. All right, so let's go to the fourth one, which is embracing your next. And when I say next is whatever it is after the change that kind of looms there for you. It's kind of murky sometimes. You really have no idea what it's going to be like. And so once we get your hope going, your joy going, and your sense of adventure, now going into it with that idea that the abundance is going to flow around it and really make it better and more wonderful, even though you can't quite see it yet. Embracing that next, starting to use your creativity to imagine that next. It's about really simply changing your mind, and you'll find how the abundance flows. So to simply change your mind, here's my idea for you. Years ago, my daughter and I were in a charity program, mother-daughter. We would do a lot of charity work, and we also did leadership for the girls because they were from 7th grade all the way up to senior in high school. It's called National Charity League. And in our chapter, we had someone come in, and he was a young teacher who was working with high school students, and he was talking about how very often girls would get really concerned and upset about how boys treated them. You know, they had a crush on someone, and the boy hurt them or whatever, or the boy was pushing something that they didn't appreciate and they didn't want, and he said, all you have to do is snap your fingers and say, next. I was like, that is so cool. So I, encouraged my daughter, okay, what happens when a boy isn't nice to you or good to you or, has other ideas that you're not wanting to do or you're not thinking are appropriate or whatever, what do you do? And she'd throw up her fingers, snap, and say, next. I loved it. Same idea you can do to change your mind, because you can change your mind in an instant. You can change your whole life in an instant, really, because you're going to change your mind and how it perceives your situation. And so with that in mind, I had everybody to stand up and take the stance, and if you can do this yourself, do it right now. If you stand up and you are ready, because you are ready to move on to the next. So you are going to go snap and next. It is a very freeing thing to do. It is another way to break that idea in your head about what the scary movies are, what might be murking out there. Next is going to be fun, and I have all the opportunities in the world. The abundance is flowing. Now, isn't that fun? It's just a snap. But to me, it works, Anytime. Next, next. I'm ready. I'll go on to the next. I like that. All right. So if you hung in there with me with your watch on another, or a bracelet, or a ring, or if you had something else that you switched, you can switch it back now. And it'll make you feel good to get it back in its little normal place, right? But hopefully, as you listen to all of the things that I talked about, even noticing something as simple as how it changed a change of your watch or ring or bracelets or whatever it was to the other arm, even that change, how that impacted you just for a moment, how bigger things really impact your life, that you really need to be ready with that creative muscle to be able to cope well. So remember these 4 takeaways. And these are all in the book, the guidebook. But these are 4 that I just really love to get going with change. The change curve, remember, if you get stuck anywhere in the change curve, write down 10 new ideas. You can do it anytime. You could do it daily and just really exercise your creativity. What are 10 new ideas that you can come up with around the change, around what's going on with you? Maybe it's just new ideas that you want to start getting your mind flowing with your creative muscle at work, ready to go, so the next thing that comes up for you, that creativity is waiting in the wings to give you new ideas of how to cope with it. The power of your thoughts. Remember the key. And if you weren't able to do it right now, find something that you can do that with, and just let it, just talk to your fingers and the key, and don't ever move anything, and the key will move, and you will see the power of your thoughts. And that's just to remind you of the power of your thoughts, because if we got 10 new ideas going, so we got your hope bubbling up, we got the key exercise showing that your mind is so powerful that you can bring that joy back in, because you know now what you can do with those thoughts. Really watch what you're thinking about. And then we want to move you forward, because we want to banish doubt with a stomp. We want to banish whatever that block is that you might have, that person or problem, thing, whatever it is, that you get down to the tiny size in your hand, drop it on the floor and stomp on it to move on with your sense of adventure. And finally, when you really want to embrace your next, you got the snap, because it's next. Show me next. And it's a more hopeful way that you know abundance is going to flow to you. And to me, that's the most important thing, is to know that these things really work on a regular basis. And that's what I love about having these exercises, to help me through big, major changes as well as little things that I need to do. Even if it's a project I need to do and I'm not very excited about it, I can pick up one of these things and start moving with it, and all of a sudden my mind is off on new things and I'm ready to move forward. So I hope that these have helped you, and just to remind you that it's coming soon as an ebook and also as an actual book that you can order, because it's a guidebook. It's just exercises throughout a year to keep you moving forward, and then to use whenever you need help to find your sense of hope, joy, abundance, and adventure. Always ready there, because get you inspired on a regular basis. Thanks so much.